Good day and welcome to the Startup Leader Show, where we learn lessons from leading startup founders and executives. I'm your host, Lisa Dreher, and I'm excited to introduce our guest for today, Omar Qaise. He is the founder and CEO of OQ Technology. Welcome to the show, Omar.
Welcome, Lisa. Good to meet you.
Yeah, so maybe you can start by giving us just a little bit of background on yourself and OQ Technology.
Thank you. So I'm the founder and CEO of OQ Technology, which is a startup company based in Europe and Luxembourg, trying to provide global 5G Internet of Things connectivity everywhere in the world using low Earth orbit satellites. My background really, I work more than 15 years in the satellite telecommunication industry. I started in Germany at the German Aerospace Center as an engineer, and I worked also at the European Space Agency on spacecraft engineering. Then I joined one of the largest geo satellite operators in Luxembourg, SES Astra, or also in the US. And there, actually, I worked on the business side of satellites, and I saw the opportunity there of really satellite IoT, and that's when I back in end of 2016 left the company and started OQ Technology.
Wow, that is amazing. So I guess, give us a little bit of more background on OQ technology and how your technology is different from other solutions in the field.
Yes. So basically, I what OQ Technology trying to do is we're trying to bring connectivity to the 80% of the world that is not connected. I mean, if you look at cellular technology today, the infrastructure, cell towers, they are only confined to urban areas, and that makes just like 20% of the whole world. While you still have like the deserts, the mountains, the villages, the seas, that's like a large portion of Earth, and you cannot put cell towers or fiber cables everywhere in the world. And we're trying to change this paradigm. We're trying to bring low cost, affordable connectivity using 5G technology everywhere in the world using very low cost, small satellites. They are like shoebox size satellites called nano satellites. So we're embarking on this technology and 5G together in order to bring that solution everywhere in the world, whether it's in Africa, in Australia, in Asia, everywhere. And this is something very new, special with 5G, because 5G is addressing a lot of applications. It's a revolution in the world of connectivity. And one part of it is what we call the massive machine communication. You're going to have a lot of machines connecting to the internet instead of people. Sensors, devices, you'll have drones, smart cars, everything is coming up right now. And these are in billions. And the infrastructure available today is not enough to address all these devices and all these machines. And that's why 5G is addressing that. However, it's still going to be limited to cities and urban areas. And that's why we want to expand this everywhere in the world, complement the existing cellular communication networks using our technology.
Got it. So are you launching then your own satellites, or how are you doing the network that supports this?
Yeah, so we use a combination of launching our own satellites, like we launched one satellite back in June using SpaceX on the Transporter 2 mission. At the same time, we're hosting our 5G payload into other satellites, and using this combination, we want to bring up the whole network, which is composed of about 72 satellites. And also, like regarding the question how we're different from others, so it has been always in the world of satellite communication that each satellite company bring up their own proprietary technology, their own solution, their own hardware, and you're gonna have to buy that and be linked only, with that solution. And it's very high cost. Satellite has been always the highest cost way of communication. What we're trying to do here is really to follow the global standard of cellular. We're not coming up with our own, proprietary technology. We just want to use the same cellular technology everyone uses, the SIM card technology everyone uses, but into satellites. And this way, we can really scale up highly and use an existing ecosystem of users who are dependent on cellular communication instead of trying to reinvent and build the ecosystem from scratch, reinvent the wheel. And that's the revolutionary thing in this aspect.
Wow, that's really exciting. That just sounds fascinating. So, and like a really great idea because I think that um, there's a lot of talk, I think, inside of the satellite industry to bring forward standards and more standardization than perhaps we've had historically. So, it sounds like you guys are ahead of things.
Exactly, because if you talk like, you go to anywhere in the world, and I don't know, go to the farthest point on earth and ask them, do you know the iPhone? Do you know 2G, 3G? They've heard of these things, they've used them, they know them. But if you say, do you know the special solution from company X? They're like, never heard of that. Where do I buy it? Where do I find it? And that's actually the issue. We still see new companies still keep doing the same thing. And that has been always a problem regarding the cost and scalability for satellite solutions. We want to change that. We said, like, enough is enough. We're changing this. We're going to make satellites similar to cellular, if not, even more affordable everywhere in the world. And you see, like, there are a lot of advances and people changing this paradigm also, like Starlink and these guys, although they are not in the specific field of cellular where we are, but at least like the satellite is playing a big role now in bringing connectivity everywhere in the world.
Right, right. So we invited you here today to talk a little bit about your experience in business and growing businesses. And so I'd like to start by just having you talk a little bit about the biggest keys to your success so far.
Yes. So, as you know, every startup journey is a special story, and it's always a difficult journey. And that's the beauty of it. I think one of the keys to success is really understanding what your customer need, instead of focusing only on your product or the thing you think this will work for everyone. Like, we spend the first years just talking to client, to customers, understanding where's their pain, what is the problem, how we can change this, because you cannot come up with the best technology or the best product, but if it does not meet the requirements of the customer, then that is actually a big issue. And you will be surprised when you find out, like, customers think totally about different things than what you were imagining, and that actually drives our solution and product to meet these requirements. That's one thing. The other thing is really having like a vision, like it's trying to think out of the box, like, and not redo every like the things that have been always done, and trying to follow a standard. For example, that was something we saw before in 2016, that we should follow the global standard. Surprisingly, the 3GPP and also the global cellular connectivity is also now going the same path and thinking, 5G should be in satellites and everywhere. So we really oversaw this thing before. And I think that's the second element for the success. The third element is you have always to keep eyes on different technologies and different things happening, because, making the link and bringing things from other worlds can really come up with a new innovation. Because when we start our careers and jobs, we're focused in one field. We are in these silos and thinking only see the thing that we see, without noticing what's going on in the other fields. And me realizing, like, nano satellites were doing a lot of progress and success in the world of Earth observation, taking images from space using these small satellites. And that was like, with companies like Planet and all these. And I was like, okay, how we can use the same technology, these satellites, for telecommunication? What best fits in? And you cannot use them, of course, for like broadband or high power communication. You need a bigger satellite, but you can address Internet of Things because it requires low power, low cost communication. And this is where the idea comes. So that's the third element of success, is really try to connect the dots.
Yeah, yeah. Great, 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 great. So when you think back, what has been the most valuable business lesson that you've learned?
Yeah, I think the most important two lessons learned, as I said, first is listening to the customer and what they need. Secondly, is not overlooking the regulatory side, because these things can come up as a surprise later on. And we had to learn that the hard way. And when we talk here in terms of satellites, there's a lot of regulatory aspects there, especially the spectrum, the access to the frequencies and the spectrum. So you need to lay down really a very good strategy for that and find the right partners to get that asset, because anything you do without like securing your asset, whether it's spectrum, patents, channels to customers, then your technology is meaningless. It's just another research lab thing in the university or in a research institute. So actually, these were the main two elements.
Yeah. What has been the most surprising thing that you've heard back from customers that maybe you didn't expect as you've been developing OQ technology?
Yeah, it's like, that, we have these devices very small that can connect users to satellite, and you can put them in the desert, in a car, or anywhere. They work on a battery and leave them, and you've got connectivity. They look like a Wi-Fi router. And the traditional satellite solution is like you have the dish, you need to point it. And one customer is like, I face a lot, we have wind. I face a lot of difficulty. Like we have this network of ATMs connected to dishes, and whenever they move, the network is down.
Ugh.
And sometimes, like I had a guy climb this team that climbs up and set them up, but the guy fell, and I was responsible for their injury and all this. And I don't want that. I want something. I just put it, no pointing, throw it there, and it works. Or throw two or three of them. If one fails, the other will work, and it's low cost. So that's something I've never thought of, but it has a value. Actually, it has a big value. So that's one of the surprising things.
Fascinating. Fascinating. So, knowing what you know now, is there anything that you would have told yourself when you first got started?
Yeah, I think one of the things that I would, if I go back in time, redo is really try to have that geographical reach early on,
Mhm.
everywhere. Developing the technology is important, but at the same time, everything should run in parallel, including, for example, the like the regulatory part, the customer part. That's also should run early on very quickly. And one of the things also is that I would like, sometimes you need also to trust your guts and yourself,
Mhm.
even if your opinion is against, let's say, the experts, or whatever you call them, because it's not always the flashy names or the expert that they will give you have, like, even if you're young and not that experienced, say, okay, no, I think it's this way and I'm gonna go that way. And yeah, it turns out you were right. So that's also something, if I would go back in time, I'd do it early on.
Yeah. Is there a specific situation where you found that to be the case, where maybe you were convinced to go a different direction even though your gut was saying, "No, stick with this?"
Yeah, it's like, I can't go on details, but for example, when you need help in certain thing, and then you get pointed to those experts in that thing, and they can, like, do it for you, and then you find out you can do it better, and you don't need anyone to help you in that, something like this.
Yeah, yeah. Can you remind me, when did you get OQ started originally?
It actually started end of 2016, October 2016, which coincidentally, when I got the papers of the company, we are stamped at the same date as my birthday. So I thought, wow, that's a sign.
Yeah. Absolutely. Wow, that's exciting. So, when you think back over the years now and just development of the technology, what would you say has helped you kind of get past either roadblocks or just the plateaus that businesses tend to naturally hit?
Yeah. So, I always don't take a no for an answer. Like, you will run into this situation where you get straight ahead no. It's like you try again, you'll get another no. You try again, you say, hey, don't you get the message? It's a no. And then you have to find a path around it. And tenacity and discipline were the two things that really helped me. When the roads are blocked in one place, then I start looking somewhere else. I try to talk to others. It's amazing how friends or colleagues can give you tips that open doors for you. And I'm really grateful to a lot and it's like free tips, just like connecting with people, having that network and asking for help and advice. There's nothing to be ashamed of that, no matter how big you are. And it's like, what do you think? I'm facing this problem. I said, did you try that? I know some guy who did that. Why don't you talk to this guy? And one string can lead you to the solution. So yeah, that's really helped a lot in the difficult times, and not stopping, and backing up. And you see, like when we started, like there were a lot of these satellite IoT. I mean, they were few. We were one of the things at the beginning, but we spent a lot of time on the technology and also talking to customers and trying to get to where we want to be, instead of just putting satellites in orbit just for a show.
Yeah.
And there were a lot of companies that came up. They were popping up like mushrooms. But now you see, like the race has come down. A lot of consolidation took place. Some companies just folded, and there are a few ones out there, and OQ is one of them. And you can see that, and we're proud of this. Okay, maybe we were at the beginning late on the race, but now we're really within the head with others. So that's the thing.
Yeah. How have you found, I guess, marrying the worlds of IoT, satellite, and the 5G cellular piece of it? How has that been?
So historically, there has been always this discussion since the time of 3G is really to have satellite network complement terrestrial networks. It just did not take the right shape. It was too early for that. But now with 5G, this has been possible. On technology-wise, it's a bit of a challenge because the technology of cellular is made for people on ground. It's not made for satellites. So we have like to do some work to think how we can that work on a satellite. The reason is, as you know, is cell towers are fixed. You're not far away from them, just a few kilometers, while satellites are moving fast around the Earth, like speed of a bullet, and they are like 500 kilometers away. And imagine trying to make a phone call or connect with such a moving cell tower in the sky. It's a challenge. So we work the beginning of the years to study and see how we can overcome this problem. That's the topic of our patents that we filed. And so it is challenge actually, but it's coming now as a natural progression, that with all these machines and all these services, doesn't make sense to have like these concentrated areas with high access to connectivity, high tech, and you have the rest of the world is have still on all 2G, 3G. And we want to democratize this because it will open in new markets, with
Mhm.
all these automatic bots, like virtual reality, new content coming from other parts of the world. This will open in new markets in different parts of the world, and 5G is going to play a big role in it. It's the backbone for such new markets and businesses, and we want to be part of that.
That's great. So I want to end with your one big prediction about the future of, I'm thinking connectivity with IoT and cellular.
Yeah, I think there, like this merge between cellular and satellite is just the beginning. You're gonna start to see a lot of technologies merging together in order to provide like one unique access or feature. We hear now also like of all robots gonna play a big, and AI is gonna play a big part of our lives. And for this to be enabled, you would need like this continuity of connectivity everywhere in the world, high power connectivity. Quantum computing is coming up also as a big factor, even in telecommunication now, whether it's encryption or even on satellite level. So I think these are the things that we will see, and looking into not just low cost, but ease of use. So you don't want to have fragmented ecosystem, fragmented platforms. You want everything under one umbrella, easy to use, plug and play. I think that's where the direction is going, and where not consumers only, but enterprises also are starting to go in this direction. And satellite will play a vital role in that due to the global reach it can offer.
Wow. Well, as that comes to pass, we'll have to have you back on the show and we can dig into that a little bit deeper.
That my pleasure, my pleasure. I really like it. Thank you very much.
Yes, thanks so much for being here today, Omar, and we'll see everybody next time on Startup Leaders Live.
Thank you, Lisa. Thanks a lot.